I really enjoyed the 2021 Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I've never read any of the books, but I did see the 2010 live action film. I remember really liking that, and I love animation, so I was really keen to check out Disney's film. And I'm pleased to say I rather enjoyed this quite a lot. This was directed by Swinton Scott, based on the stories by Jeff Kinney, with a screenplay also by Jeff Kinney. And we have a voice cast including Brady Noon as Greg and Ethan William Childress as Rowley. And this is about two boys who are now in middle school, and Greg seems totally fine with it. Rowley, not so much. He wants to know if they still have recess and if they get to wear their Halloween costumes. He's not quite ready to leave elementary school behind. But then things begin to change, and we get a bit of role reversal, and suddenly Greg is struggling to cope with things, and things are not going well for him. And I don't want to say too much more about that, but the film is partly about finding your way in middle school and also testing friendship, the friendship, of course, between Greg and Rowley. And I think it's a really great narrative. We also have the element focusing on the cheese touch. I won't go into too much detail about this, but it's one of the parts of the live action film that I remember very vividly. And it definitely is done very well in this particular film as well. So the narrative is really great. The characters are really great. We have some not very nice bullies who are very well written and very well animated. The animation in general, I really enjoyed, but I don't like a lot of the characters' noses, which might seem like a strange thing to focus on, but the characters, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them have very, very exaggerated noses. And I just found it to be quite distracting, especially as it's not every character, but just some of them. I just think it was unnecessary, and I just found it to be a little bit irritating. But other than that, the animation is really good. We get to see some of Greg's comic strips, which I thought were beautifully animated. They were an absolute delight. And the animation of the backdrops, the school classrooms, things like that, there's a really nice attention to detail. Really thoroughly enjoyed those as well. So in general, apart from the unnecessarily exaggerated noses, I really liked the animation style. My only complaint, and it's not really a complaint, but it's the length of the film. I am somebody who does not like really long films, unless it's absolutely necessary. But this one's in the other direction. It's barely an hour in length. And on the one hand, that is enough time to tell the story. I don't feel like they were missing anything out. As I said, I haven't read the book, so that might not be the case, but in terms of viewing the film on its own, I don't feel like they were rushing it or intentionally leaving anything out. But at the same time, I did feel like we could have done with another 15-20 minutes. I guess that's a good sign, because I really enjoyed it, and I wanted a little bit more. So the length of it did surprise me, but at the same time, I think that's probably more of just a personal preference thing. I shouldn't really complain, because usually I think films have a lot of fluff and a lot of padding and they're unnecessarily long, whereas actually this one, it just kind of said, yeah, we only need an hour to tell this story, and an hour works. So it's not too bad, but personally I would have liked a little bit more. The animation style is generally very good and the story is pretty great. So I really enjoyed it. If you're a fan of Diary of a Wimpy Kid in general, I'd love to know what you think of it. Did it meet your expectations? For me, I'd say it exceeded my expectations. I enjoyed it quite a lot, and I'm very happy to recommend it. And I will be watching the sequel at some point. There is a sequel, and I'll definitely check that out sooner rather than later. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is a pretty good film.